What's up, everybody? Shauna D Man here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great week. We are here with our little preview for the upcoming Auburn versus Oklahoma game, 2:30 p.m. kickoff in Norman on ABC. Jackson Arnold's return to Norman. Uh, this is quite the game that a lot of people are talking about because there's different storylines involved in it if you follow that kind of stuff or pay attention to that kind of stuff. But this is one of the games at the beginning of the season where I talked about, because you got Oklahoma, A&M, and then Georgia. Particularly with Oklahoma and A&M, I talked about how Auburn needs to split these two particular games. Auburn needs to split them. I don't care if you win at A&M, lose to Oklahoma, or vice versa, but you got to split these two particular games if you want to have a really successful season. Oklahoma has just been this talk of the town pretty much since the off season, since a lot of people had them in their playoff bracket potentially, or making noise in the SEC and things like that. And I watched the Michigan game, and let's be clear. Like, do I think Oklahoma's a good team? Yes. Do I think they're a great team? That still has yet to be seen because they haven't really played anybody who can really challenge them. And what I mean by that is, look at the Michigan game. Freshman quarterback on the road. This isn't the Michigan team that won the national title, obviously. Um, they didn't really have any wide receivers to really threaten, and so it was just Oklahoma was basically able to ultimately win the game, but that game was like 7-0 for a large portion of that game, and that was thanks to Michigan's defense. Now Auburn has a better offense as of right now compared to Michigan, and so will we see the Auburn offense show up now the first 3 weeks? Maybe with the, well, you know what, to be quite honest, yeah, the first 3 weeks, because if you look at the Baylor game, Auburn really didn't have to do anything except for running the ball. And then Ball State and South Alabama, these games were just vanilla, uh, you know, win the game and go home. We still have not really seen a full display of this offense. And so if like you're Oklahoma, if you're Brent Venables, yeah, you may be confident in your defense, but again, what Auburn has shown these first 3 games, that's there's more to it. There's more to what this Auburn team has to offer, and then we'll see what Hugh Freeze comes up with this Saturday. And then the other day, the media interviewed the players after practice and stuff like that, and even Eric Singleton mentioned how there's stuff that Hugh Freeze has not dipped into, and I think he mentioned one. He was talking about like how, have y'all not noticed that like you haven't seen a post route by Cam Coleman these first 3 games? There's definitely stuff that Auburn has not shown. They've been very vanilla because they haven't had to. They've been able to basically do what they need to do to get the win. That was running all over Baylor, pretty much running all over Ball State, and then just playing to wear out the clock and get the win and go home against South Alabama. We don't know what this team is capable of, and I think that's a positive thing. And now there are Auburn fans who are being kind of ridiculous and things like that, but I think it's a positive to see that, or a positive to know that this Auburn team hasn't really shown what they're capable of just yet. Now there are some injuries with this Auburn team, but I think a lot of these guys, they're probably going to play. They could have played last week, but obviously they held them out just to make sure they were extra healthy for this game, because you're gonna need all hands on deck to go into Norman and potentially pull off a win here. I expect Eric Singleton to play. Rayshawn Pleasant, he didn't play last week. I expect him to play. Jay Crawford could be an interesting one, but I think he'll play. Damari Alston, I think Xavier Miller. So there were some Auburn players who did not play last week that I do expect to play in this game. And the way I would not be surprised if Jeremiah Cobb is running back one, going out on Saturday, and then obviously because you have Austin with the injury. But I think Cobb has shown he could run between the tackles, like he can do that. And so I remember like when he was first brought on, or when he was first recruited, Auburn tried to use him as like this outside runner, not gadget play, but like this guy that just you know get him on the outside, let his speed take over. But he has shown he can run between the tackles, and so that's encouraging. So I think Austin will not Austin, but I think Cobb will probably get the start against Oklahoma, especially since Damari Austin hasn't played for basically 2 weeks. So and I don't know. I think we'll just see those two. I don't know if you'll see Omar Mapson. Probably not. Darrell Robinson's still out for a couple of weeks, I believe. Um, and then Jackson Arnold, like obviously Brent Venables is gonna have have an idea of what Jackson's not is good at and what he's not good at. Just the same way Jackson's probably gonna know what Brent Venables likes to do on defense, that kind of thing. There's gonna be familiarity on both sides of the ball when it comes to these two teams. Um, but I feel like Jackson wants to win. I feel like Jackson wants to win this game. I do. But if we go before we get into Jackson, if we go and look at the defensive side of things for Auburn, they have actually they've been kind of vanilla too, as well. Obviously, people are just concerned over the dumb things. Like if you look at Baylor, the first game against Baylor, Sawyer Robinson passed for over 400 yards. Sawyer Robinson is a good. He passed for 400 yards with his top two receivers not being a factor in the game. And then we saw what they did against SMU. So that's nothing to be upset about with the defense. Hey, he did it against SMU. So this is a talented offense. So it is what it is. Ball State, you handle business, plain and simple. South Alabama, you you couldn't get off you couldn't get off the field at certain points, but there were also certain points where like a phantom flag would come in, and it would just extend drives and stuff like that for South Alabama. Um, I think this defense is fine. I think yes, you could have a small concern about the secondary with guys not being where they're supposed to be. That's what not having a guy like Jaron Thompson, somebody who's that communicator to make sure everybody's lined up where they're in the position that they're supposed to be in. You have to find that guy who can communicate that. Like Caleb Harris has got to be a guy that steps up and is able to communicate, making sure everybody's in the right place and in the right play. Because you can't have any blown coverages in this game. You can't allow this Oklahoma offense to get going. They haven't Oklahoma hasn't run the ball relatively well either throughout the first 3 weeks. Mainly it's been John Mateer who has been running the ball, and I did not know this, but he has thrown a interception in each of the first 3 games of the season. So he's going to turn the ball over. So you can definitely count on that. But if you have an interception, you have got to get it. You can't just let it slip through your hands or anything like that. You've got to get the interception because every possession in this game could be valuable for Auburn if they want to pull off this win. One of the things I liked what we saw in the Baylor game and in the South Alabama game is Auburn doing these long, extensive drives. I think doing stuff like that is definitely going to help because as long as you keep that Oklahoma offense, you know, on the sideline, the more you don't have to really worry about them. But I mean, obviously we'll see. Um, and I think we'll see some of the passing game. I think what Oklahoma is probably going to try to do I think Oklahoma's going to stop the run, and this was something we talked about, or at least a lot of people have talked about when it came to the Baylor game, where Baylor didn't have the athletes to play their too high safety and keep people in the box to stop the run. Oklahoma can probably do that. Texas A&M can probably do that. Georgia can probably do that. So some of the SEC teams are going to be able to do that. Um, But Auburn has to stay ahead of the chains. That is one of the more important things is Auburn has to stay ahead of the chains, and they can't get behind. They've done so good getting into these first and fives, or getting about 5-6 yards on first down. And like they haven't really been in like serious long third and longs throughout these first couple of games. That has to continue. You can't get into a third down and long position. I believe one of Oklahoma's best defensive player. He's a pass rusher. I think he he's gonna miss the first half because I think he was ejected for targeting against Temple last week. So that could be a little bonus for Auburn right there. I think Brent Venables likes to blitz a lot, so you could definitely expect heavy blitzes. And what I think something I would say maybe not concerned. I guess you could probably say it's concerned. It's like some of these plays, because we would see through the first couple of weeks with Auburn where they would have these long developing routes. Are we going to see that, or are we going to see the ball get out a lot quicker? Call short to medium stuff, not really big shot play style of offense. Just maybe do enough in the passing game, in the run game, to keep you ahead of the chains, and just get you in field goal range or get a touchdown, something along those lines. I don't know if you can rely on the kicking game in this game. We don't really know the status of Towns Magoo. You do have Connor Gibbs. Alex McPherson seems to be getting a little bit healthier, but I don't know. I would feel better if this was a game where your offense just scores points. If you have to get a field goal, that's fine. But I just hope that we can get into a situation where, at the end of this game, we are scoring touchdowns and not field goals. But we just have to wait and see how that goes. Um, I don't know if I have any. I think Jackson Arnold is going to be the star of the game, or if you want to say MVP or whatever, that's fine. But I think he is going to be the X factor in this game. He really hasn't had to run it these past two games like he did in Oklahoma. I think he is obviously going to be involved in a run game. When we learned, throughout fall camp, that when it comes to the RPO side of the game, Jackson Arnold has been really, really good, and he has made great decisions. I think we continue to see that here as well. And the Auburn defense, if they can get a turnover or two, again, try to limit Oklahoma's possessions as possible while maximizing your possessions as possible. That is going to be a very huge thing in this game for sure. So like I said, I at the beginning of the season, I said it's you're gonna have to split it. I like, to me, honestly, you need a split, and like I don't care if you lose this week but beat A&M next week or vice versa. You just gotta split these games before you head into Georgia, and I like I feel very calm. Like, from what I've seen with these teams, um, I really feel confident with Auburn. To be quite honest, like, a lot of people are picking Oklahoma. That's fine. That's whatever. But I I feel like Auburn. I feel like they've been working, and this feels like a different Hugh Freeze this season compared to the first two seasons. It seems like he's like, the play calling has been relatively good these first three games. You only have one turnover, which was the fumble in the Ball State game. So you've only had one turnover through the first three games. You've been taking care of the ball. Um, I just feel good about this game for Auburn. Honestly, I really, really do. I think I'm gonna pick Auburn to win the game. I don't really have a score. I think this could be a relatively low scoring game because I don't think Oklahoma's offense is that great. Um, I think everything doesn't work if John Mateer is not like, maybe not clicking, but I don't know. It's hard to say about that team. Like I've mainly watched the Michigan game because that's the most data points that you can get out of something, because it's a power four against power four. And like I said, that game was 7-0 for a long time before it got out to being the final score of what it was. And I think Auburn's probably been working on this game for like the past 2 weeks. Like since the Ball State game, the South Alabama game, Auburn's probably been focusing on getting ready for Oklahoma since then. So they're definitely probably gonna have some tricks up their sleeve for Auburn. Auburn will. So I think I am going to take Auburn to win the game. I think this game, whoever could probably get to 30 is going to win the game. I think that's going to be the case. Whoever gets to 30 is going to win the game. But I do like Auburn. I'm going to pick Auburn to win the game. I think Jackson Arnold is going to be the X factor, and he is going to, um, you know, not get his revenge. That's not the word I want to use. But he's gonna redeem himself in this game. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching. Be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, comment below. I'll probably, since the game is at 2:30, I'll probably have a video out later that night, or I'll probably have it out on Sunday. I'm not sure just yet. We'll just see how things go. But thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.